Hi everyone, welcome. I was just noticing how some of the moisture that would have otherwise escaped the VermiBag Mini has actually been captured on the bubble wrap, and all that moisture is condensing into little droplets of dew, and I think just as a result, creating a barrier right there, not allowing the moisture to escape. I mean, yeah, it's now out of the bag just by being where it is, but I would assume that it's helping whatever moisture would have come afterwards to escape, to stay. So here, the VermiBag Mini is hardly even identifiable anymore, but its nameplate can be seen beneath all this additional bubble wrap that I added recently. Quite some time ago, I wrapped portions of the bag with bubble wrap, and it was sort of a wrapping that was high up, I believe, and usually material in my bin doesn't even approach being near there. So the protection is now down lower, and it does seem to be really helping a lot. Helping the system to keep its moisture and keep things nice and cozy for the inhabitants, the red wiggler wormies. So let's get down to checking in on them, shall we? And the view window has always been a, we can't see much if there's no light either. Sorry. A little bit unprepared here. So hopefully that helps a bit. So this little view window has always kind of been our measure for where we're at, and it always seems to stay right at the lower pane of the level. And it almost seems to me like we're at the halfway point, going up to the point in time in the near future, hopefully, when we're going to actually see that plastic window covered completely. Alright, let's see. I got some stuff to show you. Here's the meal plan. It consists of a banana peel. Here's like a whole banana hidden underneath the carrot. There's like a onion sort of a thing over there. This is cabbage, I believe. No, is it? No, cauliflower perhaps, and I see green beans down there too. So, yeah, I was waving this thing in front of you but didn't slow it down enough to give you a glimpse of what we're showing here. The system is 579 days of age, and the funny thing about an item that's in here is the old pumpkin stem that came with the worms from their old home. So you can see the age of the pumpkin stem down here. It's like almost 100 days older than this system itself, and this system is definitely my oldest system right now. I can't believe how we're approaching the system's 50th feeding coming up in the next few check-ins, but it's still not as old as my oldest run at commissioning this bag. When I first ran this system, which was the only other time I ran it, it was in service for 700 days. And then I harvested it in a kind of unconventional fashion by not even opening. I don't think this system has ever even had its bottom hatch opened, because these systems have like an escape hatch on the bottom where the finished stuff can come out, and you just keep piling things on top, and that's how they get that name of being a continuous flow through type system. So I've gotten more leaves here too, so I didn't show the leaves that I came with, but it was very similar to what was spread out here on the top surface. I've been managing to get this stuff broken up a little bit smaller size than this right here, because it is drying out and it's becoming a lot easier to handle. Time and time again, we've been coming in here and always gauging whether or not we need to add moisture by probing just down along the wall of the system, and in the past we'd always encountered fairly dry stuff that no worms would be found in. So the whole outer edge was just no worm zone, since it was losing moisture through evaporation through the fabric. But it does seem like we've got adequate moisture even right out on the edges anymore. Even over here where the window is, which doesn't breathe like all the rest of the fabric bag does, but I could see all the way around. Well, not all the way around, but we've already approached going halfway around, and we've already spotted worms hanging right up against the side of the system, which is really good, I think, because it just expands the overall space in which they can be. If dryness keeps corralling them into the center, and I guess since we feed in the center, I guess the attraction of the food being there, and possibly the moisture too, well, probably the moisture plays a big part too. a lot of the stuff on the outskirts of the system would just remain kind of neglected, you know. All right, so we've done a really nice job, I think, blending in a lot of this top dressing leafy matter, and it's kind of nice that I've got more to add at the end. But before we can get to the end, we need to see how the last feeding we gave them is progressing, and then toss in the lovely meal we gave them. And you know what? I'm getting this feeling at this point that further moistening of the system might not even be necessary. I mean, I even reloaded my water bottle and charged it and set it right next to me. It's all set to go should we need it. But I believe I'm already coming to the conclusion from checking all this stuff out that I really don't think any moisture is needed. This system is so nice and damp everywhere now, thanks to the enhanced evaporation prevention measures. And I think the other thing I'm noticing as a result is chubbier worms. Chubbier worms due to the increased availability of moisture, and they're not like little shriveled up pieces of jerky anymore. They're looking nice and plump and healthy. Alright, so we finally excavated deep enough to bump into leftovers from the last feeding, which was 10 days ago, and this cantaloupe melon still has some fleshy stuff on the rind remaining, and we bumped into this pumpkin stem earlier. And there is one object in here which has sort of a counter attached to it, and you might have noticed it on the green information board. Was this well, we even spoke about it, but this is the that very, very old pumpkin stem. And I'm already pretty suspicious of the fact that if, well, not the fact, but my presumption is that if I were to give this thing a good hard squeeze, I'd probably be able to just crush it. It would just turn to mush in my hands. But I'm not going to do that because I'd really be interested in seeing how long it takes for this thing to just go to pieces on its own without any help, or minimal help from me. My very handling of it and bumping into it every check-in is always going to contribute to its breakdown, I think. But it's really making good progress at this point. They all just like went down to the shady side. They don't like the bright lights, that's for sure. Yay. Very cool. I should run all my systems this damp and I'd have nice chubby worms everywhere. I don't know why I don't do that. I guess it seems to me like very damp material has a tendency to get unwieldy sometimes, but not necessarily. I think there are certain conditions where very damp stuff can still remain very flaky and unlikely to clump up, and I think that's kind of what we're experiencing here. In the past, I'd always, not always, but experienced a lot of situations where the material would clump up when it started getting to a more mature stage, but perhaps the more generous approach that I've been taking lately with bedding and stuff is helping. So let's let these little guys settle in. I'm going to go grab some of my prepared bedding so we can get to restocking their food supply. Alright, let's proceed. My prepared bedding is shredded paper and cardboard with leaves mixed in, and prepared in a way that it has a good bit of moisture added to it. It's not always a consistent recipe as far as the amount of moisture that goes in, so some batches are damp, others are a little on the dry side. I would say that this batch is perhaps on the dry side. But now that we've got this nice little cushion of insulation, I don't feel so bad dropping in a whole bunch of frozen stuff. Any worms we might be bumping into on the very edges of the hole are probably, for the most part, submerged in the neighboring material. And if they're not liking the chili feast we're handing them here, then they can certainly back off I think, and make their way into a place where they're a little bit more cozy and wait for the stuff to thaw. But yeah, that's a nice looking feeding, but probably comparable in size to what they got last time, 10 days ago. I'm starting to wonder if perhaps we got to scale back the size of the foods if we're going to keep coming in this frequently, or perhaps extending the interval between check-ins. So I think it's time to start returning stuff to the feeding zone. And here, well, I guess we're going to be plopping in a couple bits of leftover food that have worms on them. Sorry guys, putting them straight on top of the frozen foods. You know what we could do? We can cut them a break, but just grab in a little tiny bit more bedding. Why not, right? That has been our goal here, to try to increase the volume of this system. And it is kind of nice to see that little window over there almost, covered up by the material in the system. Very nice, very nice. And I can't forget, I've got the finishing touch here too, right? We'll lay down the feeding zone indicator, and in can come lovely top dressing of leafy matter. So that's pretty much it, everyone. That's our check-in with the red wiggler worms living in the VermiBag Mini. Excuse me. And did anyone notice what didn't occur on this go around? I didn't have to add moisture. I didn't add any water. In fact, I even kind of wondered, is the system getting too damp? Do I need to let it air out? I figured with the dry leaves going in and the semi-dry bedding going in under the foods, perhaps we're still in a safe enough spot that we don't have to make any drastic changes. But if we wanted to, we could always swap out plastic with paper or some other option and take it from there. So that's it for the video, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. All right, everyone, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye now.